ladies and gentlemen, you're watching the Economic Briefcase, and I'm your host, Lulinda Bazoka. Today with my co-host, Mr. Noah Njapao, we have a very interesting guest, a very respectable man. He's, I can call him that I think one of the best journalists, one of the best legal practitioners that we have in the land. Let me not call him spin doctor, but I think something like that. And today we are discussing, the legacy of our fourth Republican president, Mr. RUPIAH BANDA. And I guess you know the person that I'm hosting. You can even guess. Mr. JERE, good evening.
Good evening, sir. Nice to see you, to make a maiden appearance on your show, Doctor. I'm very grateful to be here.
Thank you very much for coming. Mr. Njapao, how's been the week?
The week has been good. Things are stabilizing after coming out of mourning our fourth Republican
president of all Zambians.
Exactly.
So, as per our tradition, ladies and gentlemen, viewers, we are going to first straight go into the figures. A lot of volatilities on the market. People are blaming Ukraine and Russia for that. It might look far, but we live in a global economy, so we shall go straight into the figures. Then from there, we're going to interact with our guests. But please take note of the phone numbers that are below your screens. We are going to open the phone lines for you to take part in this program. Mr. Njapao, it's your show.
Okay, so the exchange rates as of today, the 24th of March 2022, the dollar was trading at 17 kwacha, 85 ngwe. The pound was trading at 23 kwacha, 53 ngwe. The euro was trading at 19 kwacha, 16 ngwe. The rand was trading at 1 kwacha, 22 ngwe. Then selected metal prices on the LME, of course delayed by a day. Aluminium closed off trading at $3,653 per ton. That's an upward movement of 4%. The copper price closed off selling at 10,438.50 cents. That's an upward movement of 1.66%. Zinc was trading at $4,100. That's an upward movement of 5.45%. Lead was trading at $2,370. That's an upward movement of 4%. Tin was trading at $42,066. That's an upward movement of 1%. Nickel was trading at $32,380. That's an upward movement of 14.99%. Then crude oil prices. WTI crude closed off trading at $114 per barrel. That's a slight downward movement from yesterday. Then Brent crude oil closed off selling at $120.02. That's also a slight downward movement from the jump that happened last week. Then we'll go to our food prices, selected household essentials. Millie meal, 25 kg. That is selling at 165 kwacha. Roller meal, 25 kg. 140 kwacha, sugar 1 kg, 27 kwacha, salt 1 kg, 12 kwacha cooking oil 5 liters, 245 kwacha, kapenta meda 220 kwacha, beans meda 170 kwacha, vinkuwala meda 150 kwacha, dry fish meda 210 kwacha, tray of eggs is 62 kwacha, milk 500 mils, that's 11 kwacha, bread a loaf 14 kwacha. And that's it on the market update for today.
Very, very interesting figures. We've seen that the last time we hosted this program, crude was around 100.
Yes, slightly above 100.
100. Now it's 120.
120.
So expect the pump to
the pump price to change.
Yeah, to change for the month of for April.
April, yes, definitely.
I've seen cooking mealie meal has increased by 5 kwacha.
Yes, it
from
has.
160.
It has.
I've also seen some upward adjustment, basically across the floor, 1, 2, 3 kwacha.
And we are yet to see more when the effects of whatever is happening around
Ukraine and
yes, it's already affecting East Africa, Northern Africa there, where people import most of their wheat from Ukraine, China, Russia.
So many things have happened, the past weeks. Last month we saw, Russia moving to Ukraine for a special operation that us Russians are calling it. The big thing bad thing that happened is that we lost our fourth Republican president of all Zambians. You are one of those people that I can call a true friend to the late president. I knew you with most prominence when you were working, at State House with him. Just after that, when we wanted any information about the fourth Republican president, everybody was coming to you, and you were there all the time. So people know you as that person that shaped the presidency of the fourth Republican president, because the press aide, basically, I call them super advisors, because they are the face of the presidency. A lot of people know you like that, but who is Dickson JERE? Where are we coming from?
Thank you. A very loaded question. I would rather start it from where I am now and go back. So I'm Dickson JERE of Council. I run a law firm called Dickson JERE and Associates. I'm the managing partner there, and so that's what I do for my bread and butter. Beside that, I also run a small consultants firm called Brentwood Public Affairs, which we do consultancy in public relations and governance. We advise institutions and governments on a lot of communication strategies. So that's what I do on a daily basis. Going back, so I am a journalist by profession, as well as a lawyer by profession, and an arbitrator. So I'm a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Arbitration in the UK. And we are about only 20 or so in Zambia who are fellows. I'm a lawyer. I hold a LLB, which is a degree in law from the University of Zambia. I have a master's degree in human rights law from UNILAS, University of Lusaka. I am also a recipient and holder of a master's degree in intellectual property from the World Intellectual Property Organization, WIPO, but I studied it at University of Africa University in Zimbabwe, which was a collaboration with this known degree now on intellectual property. I like talking about it.
I know it very well.
Yes.
So
I was one of the scholarship from WIPO to do my master's. So I have 2 master's degrees. I have a diploma in journalism, public relations, and marketing. And that's how I also got into journalism. I worked with a number of institutions. The Post was my first step into mainstream media. But thereafter I left the Post. So I worked briefly with the British Broadcasting Corporation, BBC, as a correspondent for Zambia, in particular Network Africa and Focus on Africa, which is Africa Service of the BBC. I've worked with Radio France International, then moved on to do AFP, which is Agence France Presse, one of the few, 3 actually biggest news agencies in the world. So it is with AFP that I stayed long. I worked here in Zambia, a brief trip in Harare, where they had a bureau, worked in the Johannesburg bureau, moved on. I worked briefly in the Nairobi bureau. I moved briefly to Dakar, Senegal, Then I was also privileged to work in France, where the head office is, on the African desk. So that was my pinnacle of my career in journalism, that I was able to move around. And I think the most interesting part was handling the bureau in Nairobi covering the war in Somalia. And so I was one of those who was sitting there, being posted around there, and so on and so forth. So that's Dickson JERE. But more importantly, I'm a humble boy born in Matero. I love Matero. And so I started my school in Matero, went to primary school in Matero. I proceeded to do my secondary school at Munali Boys Secondary School. So one seminary and all seminary. So that's basically sums up who Dickson JERE is. You know, then I'm involved also in sports. I am a current president of Tekbo Federation of Zambia. I am immediately past vice president of Zambia Judo Federation. I sit on the OYDC board, and I was just recently appointed as a board member of the Zambia National Olympics Committee in charge of legal. So I'm the chairperson of the legal commission of the National Olympics Committee. I'm actively involved in sports. I'm president of Monze Swallows Football Club, yes. So people don't know that I have strong links in Southern Province. And I'm a patron of Chipata Girls Football Club.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's what I do. And if you ask me about, why all this football, tekbo, judo, I'll say my mentor, President RUPIAH BANDA, was just like me. He was in boxing, football, cricket, and so on. So we all learn from our mentors.
That's a very wonderful introduction about yourself. Loaded career, you know, you love sports, and you haven't talked much about your legal side of the career. But I would like to ask your relationship between you and our late president. That is before Mwanawasa's death and post Mwanawasa's death. How was your relationship?
So it's a very interesting question. I knew President Banda, I think, somewhere in 1995, 96, when UNIP was in opposition. He was MCC, in charge of foreign affairs, and at that time, Dr. Kaunda was planning to do a comeback to politics, and President RUPIAH BANDA was one of those who were stewards in that particular crusade. And I was a trainee reporter then, and I linked up with him, with his team. I think Dr. Stephen Moyo was there at Kuku nightclub. There was Kuku nightclub just near Lusaka House, as you are going to the notorious compound there. And the UNIP stewards used to mingle there, Chivolia area there.
Yes.
Yeah, so I went to interview him once and allowed me to sit in and listen to the conversation that was going on then. And so we had a relationship, what I was called a journalist-source relationship. So come 1996, Dr. Kaunda was barred from standing, and his vice then, which Chief Inyamboyeta, who was supposed also to take over if Dr. Kaunda was not standing, he was also barred with a constitutional provision. So there were two constitutional provisions, barring Kaunda because his parentage, because of foreign parentage, and Senior Chief Inyamboyeta because a chief could not run for political office. So the both top two were knocked out, and that's what led to UNIP boycotting the 1996 election. And so I was interacting with him at a very distant. Come 2006, he was appointed as vice president. Actually, on the day he was being appointed as vice president, I was at State House to cover that event, and I was seated next to his.
Wow.
Yeah, I was there with his son Andrew Banda, and I remember, but I was there as a reporter.
Yes.
And when we finished the press conference, Andrew took me to him to say, we laughed and congratulated him, and we went separate ways. We probably met maybe once or twice during his presidency, but not very much during his vice presidency. When Manawasa died, there was a campaign which just started immediately to eliminate him from the race for the presidency. Mainly from the Post newspaper and others who thought that he was too old to be president and that he didn't deserve it. And more particularly, there was a line of propaganda that was being spread that President Manawasa, in one of the cabinet meetings, he did mention that the person who was going to succeed him was going to be younger than him.
Yes.
And so if it was somebody who was going to be younger than them, wouldn't be President Banda. But those who are pushing that line, of course, were more pro-Finance Minister Magandi. And I decided that I will support President Banda. Not that I needed anything from him, but I thought that the onslaught of propaganda which was thrown on him was unfair. And at that point, I just launched my own publication.
Oh, you're not working for the Post?
No, I'd already left. When I worked for the BBC and so on and so forth,
so the time you were covering...
I'd already left the Post.
Okay.
So 2008, I was a managing partner and proprietor of one of the most effective media organizations then called Executive Issues. It was a subscription-based publication where the diplomats and the who's in Zambia really looked to get the in-depth analysis of what was going on. And so I put up a good fight with them. Then he called me one day to go and have a chat with him, and we had a chat, and you know, he then drafted me because by design, the office of the vice president didn't have a press aide, didn't have any team around him. So when Manawasa died, he was now acting president without any backup system in terms of media fights and whatever. So I became part and parcel of, in court, a non-media advisor. And that time there was also a team which came from the UK to assist with the campaign. And the party did not like this team because they thought we didn't need a Muzungu to come and tell us what was happening and so on. And I became a link with that team. So we clicked because I knew what they were doing. It's not peculiar to Zambia. It is something which any candidate worth his salt needs to get what we call election experts who are able to do opinion polls, analyze the mood in the country, give you the actual figures. This is how you are rated. This is the campaign message which is lacking. These are your chances and so on. And so I was able to be a brand with that team, and we worked very well with President
Banda. The background of
yes,
as
because
a
also
political
I've been
analyst.
involved in terms of the reporter covering elections in different parts of Africa.
Yes.
So I knew that any serious president needs posters who will be able to say this is a ranking, and we reporters used to rely on such information to do our analysis who's going to win an election or not.
Someone would have argued that you would have fit best as a political advisor.
Well, maybe. So when we finished that, I became part and parcel of his team. Yeah. Now, one interesting thing I must mention that during that period, I was using my own resources, my own money, my own vehicle, my own fuel, until to the end. A day before the election, he then called me. Yeah, we are voting tomorrow. We don't know how the results will turn out.
It was a very tense election.
Yes. Then he said, but I've worked with so many young people. I mean, every other day they're asking for logistics, they're asking for, you know, money for fuel, for talk time. You've not asked for any money or anything, no transport. You've been using your own resources. I thought that your behavior was exemplary, but I need to give you something. In case, just in case we lose the election, you know, I said, I didn't need anything. He gave me, I think I remember that time, it was like 25,000 kwacha. Yeah, I said, no, in case we lose, you know, something just to say thank you for what you did. And of course, I took the money, and that was the last we heard from each other. Results came out. I was with one of his sons. We were following the results. He won. When he won that night, I was one of the few people he invited home before waiting for the final vote, because we had our tally that he had won. So while everybody was waiting, we had the tally. So I was one of those he invited to be at his government house,
Yes.
the vice president's house, myself, with the team from the UK and few of his family members. We had a good time having a meal. When the final vote was being announced, we were one of those who hugged him and so on. Remember, the constitution then was within 24 hours, it needed to be sworn in. Of course, I was one of those who had the VVIP card to be at Parliament for his swearing in ceremony. I was working the team also to do the inauguration speech.
Yes.
When that happened, we came out from Parliament. Of course, things changed.
He became president.
He became president. So
you could see the distance.
when we were coming back, there was a luncheon at Government House. We found we were blocked. You know,
this man.
Yeah, but I've been in and out of this place. Then we have to ask for clearance, and we were cleared. We stayed there. When I wanted to go and whisper something to him, the security blocked me, and they said, "Mwana wangu yumleke." And so we moved on. Then from there, I backed off. I became president. Then I think 3-4 days passed. Then I got a call asking me where I was. And he was saying, "But I've been expecting you to be here. You haven't been here." I said, "But Your Excellency, I haven't been appointed." He said, "No. You need to do a speech." And that day he was going to officiate at the MMD fundraising dinner at Meet the President at Mulungushi. So he called me and gave me the papers, do the speech. He was sitting in the garden and I was with him. Then he ordered now go to the office to go and print the speech. And I said, "Well, I haven't been appointed. I need a letter." I said, "But I'm the letter." Yeah, I said, "I'm the letter, just go." So I said, working without the formal appointment. Then he said, "But you worked so hard. How would you leave me alone in the process?" Then the process went on. Cabinet was finalizing it. I mean, this was drama. I'm probably going to say it for the first time. So me and him agreed I was going to be his special assistant for press and public relations. Now, these titles can be very confusing.
Yes.
The day I was being sworn in, or when I was called to be sworn in, that's when I received my letter of appointment. Like 10 minutes before
Swearing in.
I checked the letter. It said Chief Analyst for Press and Public Relations. So I walked to Dr. Kanganja, Secretary of the Cabinet, was seated next to Mr. Mataka Robert, Deputy Secretary of the Cabinet. I said, "Look, this is not the agreement I have with him, with the President, so I am not taking the oath. I'm walking away." And Kanganja said, No. You know what you do? Somebody must be playing around.
Yes.
Get sworn in. Get inside. And this will sort this out. I said, "Are you sure?" "Yes." But the president was coming, so walked in, I took oath, finished, we posed for pictures. Then I asked the president, and I wanted to have a word with him. The two of us. So we went in his office. First time now I was entering his presidential office.
Yes.
I told him, "But sir, the agreement I had with you is this, but..." So he looked like shocked. "But what did I swear you in?" I thought that's a precedent.
Somebody was playing, yes.
Yeah. So he said, "Okay, let me put it," because Arabi was like American. So he said, "Okay, let me put it bluntly. You are my press secretary." If we pick the American system. Yes. So I said, "So sir, if I'm the press secretary, not the position you've given me." Then he called everybody in. He said, "No, my agreement with me and him and with everybody, this is my press secretary." So then I was called outside. "Okay, it won't look good to do this immediately, so we'll do it at some point." Now, those who follow politics will know that I think a few months later, I took another oath. I was now being sworn in as special assistant to the president. So I took 2 oaths in a short period of time before the same president. Then I was moved now to my substantial position. And he made a point that wherever I'm going, his gentleman and me will be together, because there's something, you know, I want him to do beyond his job. So we became so interlinked. And so throughout the 3 years of the presidency, I think I can't complain that I didn't have access to him.
Let me bring back to the elections. That was 2008.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a heated election.
Yes, it was very heated.
I remember people went outside to throw stones, and then at that time I was in Russia, so I was watching it on TV. It was even on France 24, France 24. I remember that's where they were showing a lot of Africa. So what was the, you know, because that's the election where former President, may he so rest in peace, Michael Sat, makes his speech to say, I have not bloody lost.
Yes. Yes. So
how was the tension?
No, so now it brings me back to what I said, that polling, post-tallying of elections is very important. You know, elections now are scientific. If you don't get your figures, you cheat yourself. We had the figures, and we knew what would be the vote difference with the permutations. So all our permutations was working towards Arabi. So we were comfortable, because we believe in the scientific, it's a research.
Yes, yes,
yeah,
yes.
people's moves and what.
Yes.
Look at the voter register, young people, what, because we were doing that during that period. And so, well, there was panic even within the team. By the way, there was even a group which came and tried to convince Arabi to concede. Yeah. And we're laughing, we're saying, look, but our figures. So the figures we had prior to the election and the voter tabulations which were taking place in our centers were all tallying. And we knew that was going to win with about 64,000 votes somewhere there.
Yes.
We had the figures, and they came exactly what we had. So in our camp, there wasn't much of panic, because the opinion poll, the tallying which was coming, and the independent tallying from the system, as well as the electoral commission, was all in tandem. So we knew that it was a done deal. But of course, tense, because every time the lady came to announce the results, we're all paying attention to make sure that the figures you have and the figures she's announcing were correct. But at that point, actually, we knew that it was a done deal. Yeah, interesting period, I must say. And I learned a lot, because one of the posters who came here was one, or he still is one of the most respected in the world. He did Bill Clinton, he's done one. So when he did his projection, he put the figures around, we were able to tell that it was our game. Yeah, it was our game, and the figures came just like that.
So Arabi now is president of the Republic of Zambia, and you start working. How was his presidency? How, any specifics, memorable?
Well, no, I mean, for me, his presidency is, I can speak the whole night, because I remember so many incidences. I mean, he was a very jovial person. Wherever you hear a laughter within the State House ground, just look around, he's somewhere there. You know, but very tough. You know, very tough. I used to say that if he's ignored you 2-3 times, the group of people, just know there's something you haven't done. Either he has given you an assignment which you haven't done, or he received a report about you, or your behavior previous nights or something. Yeah, so we had a standard where when he's arriving, all the special assistants lined up to welcome him. So you would say, Dr. Chembe, how are you? What's the interest rate today? Yeah, you would move, jealousy. So any interesting judgment from the court? So according to your economic advisor, legal advisor, so when he comes to you and he say, hello, then he moves to another person. Then
he just changes his appearance.
Yeah,
you know there's something wrong.
No, so everybody there will be conversation. So when he comes to you, just say hello. Then he moves to another one. Just know that you have unresolved issues.
People say the best job you can ever get is not minister, but that of aide to the president. And I agree with it.
Well, because you are part of the presidency. The president works with the people, so you are the president. So you have unfettered access to him. you can whisper things.
There's actually a question I've always wanted to ask press aides. Are there moments where you're being asked a question and the president hasn't spoken about it, but you are compelled to say, I need to answer this based on how the president can answer it? Do those moments happen where
look, you must read the boss. You must understand what his, position on a lot of issues are. And so being a press aide is like putting yourself in the foot of the president. So that's why you must have a lot of interaction with him, so that to understand what is the position on this and what is the position on that. But also avoid saying things which may misrepresent his interest. So it's a delicate balance. So when there's a heated issue, sometimes don't answer. That is why I can tell you a number of press conferences I had, because that's one of the things I was groomed from the beginning, that avoid speaking on behalf of the president when you are not sure. You always had to be sure. But also, I was working with a president who threw me, in the deep waters because he wanted me to excel. And he had my back, I must say. So I had a very good relationship with him. But more importantly, I was the opposition with him. Initially, it was a bit uncomfortable, but I didn't realize that he loved it. That when everybody has agreed,
he liked the challenge.
He liked the challenge because I would say, let me play devil's advocate. So it became I became like a bouncing ball before a decision is made. You would say, Harikun Dickson, what do you think? So when I agree forthright with everybody, are you sure? So I would go to a political rally. Everybody would tell him, oh, sir, that was a big rally. Hey, so people. Then I'll say, Excellency, I saw buses bringing people. So let's not be cheated. So he loved that kind of honesty from me. So each time there's a decision, he would say, what do you think about this? Because you always give a critical thinking. You don't just agree.
I think Arabi was one of the kindest presidents that we have ever had. I don't think a lot of people went.
Yes, I remember one incident which he always talked about. He called me in his office, and I found him with newspapers. And he called his legal advisor, Jalas, and he said, look at this newspaper. The headline was, a man in Ndola has been jailed for insulting Arabi. So he asked, who is the complainant? How can somebody go to jail for insulting me and I didn't even know that there was a court case going on? I'm not a complainant. And more importantly, the insults never even reached me. Look at the way I look. Will anybody tell that somebody in a bar in Ndola insulted me? I said, you know what? This man must be removed from jail today. His job, he was working for Zamtel and got fired because of the imprisonment. His job must be given back to him. A vehicle must go to prison, pick him. They should go to ShopRite, buy food for him and his family, and take him home. Because if he can't insult the president, who else is he going to insult? He must be drunk. He must be broke because he has blown up his salary. He must have a reason why when he goes home to tell the wife things are bad because Arabi is bad, he's failing to run the country, and that should imprison him. So if really he believed that Arabi is a fool, would taking him to prison change his belief? No. Absolutely. He will be in prison still believe Arabi is a fool. So just leave it. And right there, Jaras explained that you can do a pardon. He said, let's do a pardon. Then he said, call the police. I don't want anybody to be arrested for defaming the president. Even chiefs in the villages, they get insulted. So that's how, if you remember, nobody was ever arrested after that incident.
I know the relationship between Arabi and Chirua was very solid.
Well, they were close.
Yes, they were close.
They were close. So it must be put in context.
Yes.
Because that's one of the reasons the party used to say Arabi will lose the 2011 election because it's very close to Chiluba, who was going through corruption tribulation. But don't forget that Arabi was arrested for treason.
Yes.
And put in prison by Chiluba.
Wow.
Yeah, so, and you know, it's just that we have
zero option.
Yes, we have short memories in this country.
Yeah,
so Arabi was in prison, arrested under the presidency of Chiluba. So he would tell those who are saying, Chiluba, don't be close to Chiluba, he'll say, but if there's anybody on earth who should discard Chiluba and not want him near, it would be me. Because he sent me in prison for no reasons. I stayed there until after the courts released me. I believed when Chiluba signed or declared a state of emergency and detained us under the president's pleasure or whatever, it was because he had information given to him as a head of state, which at that point he probably believed. Yeah. So he said, I harbor no hatred. And they became court friends, I must say. They closed up their relationship, they were visiting each other, and so on and so forth. So, but that just demonstrates that Arabi held no grudges against anybody.
Indeed,
you know, because he was put in jail by Chiluba, but he went out of his way to be with Chiluba every other day.
This is a very interesting discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, you can join in by sending your text messages. You can also call in. For the meantime, let me ask him a question. Very interesting times. So, Michael Sata, Arabi, there was a rivalry. But, you know, in politics, there's rivalry on the, on the outside. But inside, people talk. What was the relationship?
I don't think there was rivalry. They were best friends. They were good friends from UNIP. Henry Banda, Arabi's son, godfather to Mlenga Sata's daughter.
We were with Mlenga Sata last week.
Yeah. When Mlenga Sata's daughter died, I was tasked at State House by President Arabi to make sure that the funeral of Mlenga Sata's daughter goes, smooth. We went to visit the funeral house, me and Arabi. We found President Sata there. We joked, and they were buddies from UNIP. So don't be mistaken, especially cadres killing each other. During Christmas, Arabi would light a Christmas card to Sata. And I'll take it. Then Sata will scribble on that card, and it will be moving State House to Omero Mumba, State House to Omero Mumba, scribbling things. If you remember when Sata's wife, Dr. Kaseva, collapsed, Arabi immediately ordered the evacuation to South Africa. Those were buddies. Sata is president. Zambia is in the finals at AFCON. Sata called Arabi, I know nothing about football. This is your team. You're the one who's building this team. Go. Provided for by the states. Arabi was in Gabon to go and watch the finals because Sata provided that. So leaders always have a way. I worked in State House. It's amazing that people you are seeing headlines every day insulting. They're the ones who are there every day.
Every day in State House. Yes.
I almost bent my fingers once. Vice President Kavindere was attacking Arabi every day. And I responded to Vice President Kavindere, former Vice President. Arabi called me and said, Enoch is my friend. I even know why he's doing this. So you know what you do? Call Enoch for lunch. And I want you to be at the lunch. I called Vice President Kavindere, former Vice President Kavindere. He came. And we had lunch, the three of us. And they were laughing like nothing had happened. Next trip, we are going to Turkey for a state visit, and Kavindere was on the delegation. And because I had a relationship with the Kavindere prior to that incident, of course, we laughed about it, and I was with him throughout. So I learned from that experience that when these elderly politicians are attacking each other, don't just get involved. You don't know their relationships. Yeah, and Arabi told me, Enoch, meaning Kavindere, had a plane.
Yes, he had a plane.
We used to fly into Nairobi for weekends on Friday and come back on Sunday to just go and play. So they had a history which you couldn't take away. And at that point I realized for me to get involved in any attack on this, let me pull back. Yeah, I learned a lot because Arabi groomed me in that situation, and he told me most of these people, I can even tell you Sata this, I even know what you want. This one, Alex Chikwanda, I know what. So they are a very close-knitted society, especially those who are in your NIP. Don't be cheated. Their children mingle.
We were sorry to say this, Bwana Sata. I'll say it on TV. We were with him, very nice gentleman. We were with him last Saturday, and he was telling me, he was telling us, we were with Mr. Noah here, how his children, and meaning Wasata's children, and Arabi's children, meaning Mlengasata and Henry would, you know, they are godfathers to each other's children. So me, I'm there, I said, but 2011 was very intense. You guys are godfather to each other.
So it's a good lesson to young people. It's a good lesson to young people. Don't get involved and start machete-taking each other, burning each other's homes. No. Politicians have the way of talking. Even now, there's a way of talking. Yeah, they meet somewhere, they send messages to each other somewhere. They know the system. So don't get involved in this fight. Just leave them. Play your part. 2015
President Arabi decides to come back.
Yes.
It was going to be a very good comeback, by the way.
Yes, I know that.
Yeah. He decides to come back. Then, of course, they got to court. And what was the mood around then? And then he moved to support.
Yeah, I mean, at that time, it would have been one of the best comebacks of any political life of a guy like Arabi. So everything was in place, logistics and so on. They knocked out last minute by a Supreme Court judgment. And by the way, at that point, MMD and UPND were in a loose alliance.
Yes.
Yeah, so talks were going on. Yeah, South Africa here and so on. But we couldn't conclude with the UPND on time. PF came, and it was easy to conclude with PF in a short period. So he went PF. But like I've said, that 2015, it was a presidential by-election. So there wasn't much details. It was about the presidents. So Arabi went with that process. We all followed him. President Edgar Lungu won. A year later, there was now an election. So that's where now the dynamics changed. Because 2015, 2016, Arabi's thinking was that MMD should retain its identity. So in 2016, it was his hope that there would have been constituency sharing with PF. So the larger part of the East should have gone MMD, and PF should not have fielded candidates. Part of Central, where MMD was strong, in short, MMD field candidate. Where PF is strong, they should field candidate. After all was agreed, last minute, PF changed the goalpost, and most MMD members were asked now to contest on PF ticket. That's why you saw in Chipata, most MMD people ended up standing on PF, when in actual fact, they should have gone in an alliance. He was not happy with that arrangement. Of course, to his death, he was not happy with that arrangement, because now it diluted the existence of MMD, and we couldn't do much, because now the MMD people were wearing PF attire, then all of us had to be made to aspire on PF ticket instead of remaining with the identity of MMD. But come 2021, he decided he was not going to back anybody. Mind you, I had mentioned that 2008, 2011, we still had those posters. So we had the figures.
Yes.
So I'll tell you that even 2011, we knew it was plus or minus 2% either way. Our winning was dependent on the outcome of the voters in the East. The voter East was a bit low.
And your Brus don't vote, by the way.
No, they vote. But this time around, they had a slogan which they started, which Arabi was against. They said, now in Akari. Yeah, he was saying, no, you have to vote, not now in Akari. They were so overconfident. They were all going to the few, they didn't vote. So that tilted. And we had those figures. So even 2011, we had some figures. 2021, we had some figures. We knew how it was looking. Yeah, so he stayed out of the race. And I think it was God intervention. Because him staying out and the role he played subsequently could show that if he had taken a position there, he would not have gone to be a statesman to bring these two people together and have that deal. That, no petition, let the other person get sworn in and we move on as a country. At that point, he was very sick. He was even due for his medication. He cancelled his trip to Dubai to foresee that process. And that's why I'm saying I think it was God.
It was a very tense period, August.
Yes, but you see, he came in with his jovial mood. Oh, by the way, there was one day I was just laughing with the security men. They were reminding me in Chipata. By the way, we just came back yesterday from finalizing the traditional funeral in Chipata. And so his security team were there. They were reminding me, boss, do you remember what happened on the 13th, I think? No, 14th of August, where we were trying to reach 2 points of power. Then they switched off their phones. So he was in his pajamas. Then he said, Dickson, we're going to do something dramatic. We are driving to their homes. We'll drive to State House, we'll drive to whether it's HH House, and we'll force ourselves in. So we thought he was joking. Then he packed everything and started walking out.
In his pajamas.
But you're wearing a pajamas, so you have to go and change. No, but this is serious time is of business. Every minute which passes, the country is tensed. So we had to force him to change, and we started off. As we were driving, I think somebody was tipped, these people are coming. Then we got a call that they're all rushing there. Then we turned back. So he was determined to resolve what was going on at that point, and what a diplomat he was. He was taking me through. President Edgar Lungu should sit there, HH there, Kikwete there. The setup means like this. You need to give a shoot. He explained all those details for me. This is how you reduce tension.
Yeah, President Kikwete is a very good friend of mine, so
yeah. Me too.
he must have taken part in some of those negotiations, but from a very distance. It was tense.
Yeah, it was tense, but God willing, the age, his statesmanship helped. And it's a pity that now everybody is learning about President Banda after his death, when now you are being told he was probably the first president of Namibia. Crazy stuff. But we knew.
People don't know that.
If you go to the UN, they'll tell you there was a vibrant ambassador from Zambia who was pushing agendas in the UN chambers. That's Arabi. You go to Nambod, people tell you how you transformed Nambod. You go to Minister of Foreign Affairs, they'll tell you one of the best foreign affairs ministers. But when he became vice president, young people were being told he's a farmer who was just plucked from Chipata and made vice president. Yes, people didn't want to talk about his history. That is one of the firebrands Zambia has ever produced. Now, you were hearing it from President Kikwete, President Chisano, President of Namibia, talking about your own son. Then you are saying, so we didn't know our own son.
And one thing we don't have in Zambia is we don't know history.
Exactly.
I always tell my students that you need to know where you're coming from. You can't say Arabi came from nowhere. Those were the big names.
At
Economic Association of Zambia, president.
At age of 28, he was ambassador in Egypt. He's the first Zambia's ambassador to Egypt was Arabi. Ambassador to Washington. Ambassador to the UN. Yeah, he became Minister of Foreign Affairs. He was the first senior governor of Lusaka.
Oh, yes.
Nambod CEO, Lulo Construction Development Corporation CEO. he's not a small boy.
Under what circumstances did he preside over Namibia?
Because he was in charge of the UN Council, which was in charge looking after Namibia.
Okay.
Yeah, so as a UN Council chairperson, president, he was now president of Namibia. Yeah, that's why the president of Namibia had to mention it. By the way, they even declared national mourning in Namibia.
Yes, they did.
If you go to Namibia, RB is known. But beyond Namibia, go to Kenya, you think he's a Kenyan. You saw that even his life history in church was read by a lady from Kenya.
From Kenya.
He's connected like this. You go to South Africa, oh my God, you think it's South Africa.
And he actually respected KK for giving him that platform. He said if it wasn't for KK giving me an opportunity at a young age.
We used to say that, and that's why I've said it without shame, that RB made me. Yeah, and of course, I was a well-known journalist in Africa. I worked all over, but I was never known prominently as a technocrat in a presidency. He gave me that opportunity. Manawasa appointed me on the Constitutional Review Commission. I was there, but that was not what made Dickson, because Manawasa appointed me by virtue of me having been a president of MISA and so on. RB made me his press secretary, one of the highest position on the land. So he is my president. He made me. So I say it openly.
You, Richard Sakala, Amos Chanda.
Yeah. I said,
I think people need to work hard for them to reach your levels.
Yeah, I said, he made me. Now, he used to tell me that I am your president, but Kaunda is my president. If Dr. Kaunda comes here, don't even allow him to wait 20, 30 minutes. If I'm in cabinet, I have to be asked to leave so that I can attend to him. He is my president. He made me. At 28 years, he gave me those responsibilities. I made mistakes, but Kaunda made me learn from my mistakes. If he had fired me, I wouldn't be president. You wouldn't be where you are. Even the mistakes I used to make, he would tell me, next time do it like this, like that. Because, you know, you are the future of the country. If I fire you here, what am I building? Because Kaunda didn't fire me. That is why I'm president. Mistakes are part and parcel of learning the job. So on that score, he was a good teacher, but he respected Kaunda to the end. He was Kaunda's boy. Yeah, he was Kaunda's boy. And like I said, that when Kaunda was attempting a comeback in 1996, he was one of those who were there, even giving the vehicles to Kaunda. Yeah, he believed. And this is what we need in the country, young people to learn, to have allegiances.
You know, I've been very privileged to have met Kenneth Kaunda, not just in a function, but to sit down with him. First of all, to apologize for, you know, for what we did to him in 1990. I think the way we remove, when we remove leaders, we are not supposed to be that vicious. Chiluba was not around, so I don't know what happened. But Chiluba, I think, had a bit of it was not very bad, because
no, I mean, Chiluba was handing over power.
He was handing over power, yes. Then Marabi, it was very bad. And you know, I remember I came back in 2010 when he was president, and I could read the mood. Then I asked people, but why do you want to remove him? You tell me why. What is not happening wrong? Because that time we were coming from a crisis. I think I visited in 2008.
The economic meltdown of 2008.
When I came back, I think he was president then, in 2008. The dollar was at 2.8. 2.8. When he was leaving, it was at 4.6. Somewhere there, around 4.6. But this was a very resilient Zambia with low copper prices then. When he was president, the copper prices were very, very low. Anyway, Zambians made a decision. But I think that from what I've learned one. I don't want to ask you that question, but I know, you know, losing power is very...
It's painful.
It's very painful.
Yeah, I mean, I may tell you, Arabi sometimes used to tell me, my son, do you know losing power is next to death? Yeah, because things just crumbles on you. then even those, but also it reveals people.
People, yes.
Yeah, you say, but that guy was claiming he can kill for Arabi. He's the first one who's, every other day there were press conferences announcing people are resigning from MMD, and these were Arabi boys. So you would look and say, well, really? Yeah, so I have learned to be loyal to people who have been good to you, regardless of power or no power. And I've also learned one thing, that if you can't say good things about your former boss, you're better off keeping quiet.
Yes.
Yeah, keep your views to yourself, because nobody will take you serious if I come here and start attacking Arabi. Like I said, I used to differ with Arabi. Even after his presidency, would fight, but would reconcile. When I come out, I would only talk about the good things about Arabi, because that's how humanity should be. Where 2-3 people are, you can't agree on everything. There will be differences. And when there are differences, you must be able to resolve them. But when you come out in public, those differences should not be overshadowed by the good relationship you are having. And this is what we should start building in the country. Those who are working with President Hakainde, those who worked with President Edgar Lungu have said, please don't abandon him. When it was nice with him, you know, flying all over, let it also be without those status, because he gave you opportunity, and it's time also to pay back by just being loyal to him. Yes. He needs you more than he would have needed you in his lifetime. Exactly. So this we should learn. And Arabi was good. He was always with KK. And so we learned that power comes and power goes. There's today UPND, tomorrow there'll be another party. Those of you working with President Hakainde, you must be convinced that he's the right person. You're not here for a job. When he leaves, you must be with him. Yeah, that's the culture we should be building.
Yeah, because when the president leaves, it just crumbles.
Yeah, but you can't be jumping all over. Look at in America, when they leave, they go back to teach in the university, to write books. You know, they don't start saying, oh, President Bill Clinton, I told him don't do this. No, no, no. All the mistakes president makes, if you are part and parcel of the president as his aides, you are part and parcel of those mistakes. Just like the successes, you are part and parcel of those successes. We take oath of allegiance to be part and parcel of that situation.
Director, so, do we have any messages before? You can call us on the numbers that are scrolling below. So the first message is, good night, panelists. Very brilliant discussion. With that experience, Mr. JERE, can you accept if the new Don call you to save the people of the Republic of Zambia in a similar capacity? Andrew from Kitwe. Good night. It is very important to praise a person after he dies. However, much more when he's still alive. Keep it up. Very educative discussion. Andrew Mrenga from Kitwe. Good evening, gentlemen. Mr. JERE, what advice would you give to the youth of today, having gone through the hands of the president of all Zambians, Arabi? It seems to me that the youth of Zambia, or the youth of today, are too ambitious, and what things are done like yesterday. E-meeting freedom. The man you talked about is my uncle, and I'm even with him watching the program. He can't stop laughing and thanking the former president for releasing him from prison. Wow! Don't tell me. Wow!
It's wonderful.
I wish old man was alive, but I've told him.
Yes, yes. Well, I like that. Zambia, yes,
I like that. Thank you. We were part of that decision to release you.
So, can you take up HH calls and says
Dickson to be spokesperson?
Yes.
I think no. I would probably serve in a different capacity. I've been in that position before, and it's always good to allow others to take up. But in another role, probably I would, but not spokesperson. I think I put in much, isn't it, for Arabi? Let others
I've followed you. You know me, I follow you.
Yes.
Yes, every day when you post something, I read, and sometimes I've called you.
Yes, yes, I know.
This is very good. This one, you know, I follow, because I consider people like you, to be role models for the youth. And we have somebody who's saying, what advice do you have for the youth?
Yes, I mean, just the life of Arabi itself should tell you what the youth should learn. He was ambassador at 28. He became president at 74. So life is a journey. And one thing he taught me, not be overambitious. Because when you become overambitious, you start bringing down your colleagues. Because everybody who's shining, he becomes a threat to you. So you have to put propaganda to bring him down. So if Abazoka is doing very well, I have to find dirty to bring him down so that I can be the only one surviving, shining, so that when the time comes to look for leadership, they should look for me. Unfortunately, life doesn't work like that. So Arabi was always telling me, look, I was at the farm in 2006. There were people within MMD who were aspiring to take over from Manawasa. He was doing his last term. So they were hoping, you and so on. But Destin had it that he became a vice president. Manawasa dies and he had to take over. So those with ambitions, where are they now? Nowhere. So God's time is always the best, one. Two, if something is meant for you, it will certainly come. It can be delayed, it will certainly come. So don't show your ambition. Then you become jealousy of those who are doing well. When you become jealousy, you become... I see it even among my generation. Sometimes I read things, they insult each other, they want to come out as the best experts in an area. It doesn't work like that. Just calm down. When you calm down, things will come your way. Yeah? When you calm down, things will come your way.
And you as press aide,
I learned a lot about just calm down. Arabi would tell me, just calm down. No, I'm going to stand as an independent because I haven't been adopted in Matero. He looked at me, my son, calm down.
I've seen that you have acted maturely.
Yeah, he said, calm down.
On that aspect. Yeah. Everybody thought you were going to... No, you just...
But because I was in the wings of giants, Arabi called me to his house. He said, just calm down. Things happen for a reason. Do you know, he gave me an example of what happened to him. I can't remember the year. Yeah, he told me similar incident happened to me. I was kicked out last minute, and Simon Mwewa took up my position. Yeah, so he said these things happen in politics. Yeah, all what you need to do when there's a setback, you step back, learn from it, and forge it. Because when you become overambitious, for instance, he asked me, okay, you are popular at Matero. There's no doubt about that. You go and win as an independent, so what? You go to parliament as an independent, so what? Do you want your political career to start and end of just being an independent? No. Look at things from a bigger perspective. As an independent, what would you be able to do for the people of Matero? Is it just about your ego that to prove that the party made a mistake for not picking me, therefore I've won? So he went all the points with me and told me, at your level, step back. And I've always said, I was standing on the shoulders of a giant. He was able to bring me back to where I'm supposed to be. I was angry, I must say. I argued with him. He told me, understand, switch off your phone. Yeah, switch off your phone. Go home and sleep.
But I can tell you that thing was switching towards you.
Yes. So he said,
at some point.
But when you wake up, you switch on your phone, the first person you should call is me. I switched off the phone. I went 11 hours. 30 minutes later, I couldn't sleep. I stood up on my phone. I said, no, I'm going to fire. So you didn't listen for 2 hours we sat? I said, but my supporters said, I know. It would be foolish to think that your supporters won't force you, but that's why you're a leader. You need to go to Matero and explain to them why you are taking that position. They will listen. Yeah, of course, there will be a few who will be cantankerous, but if you're not willing to stand, they won't push it further, step back. So I learned a lot. But sometimes we have to slow down. And because the beauty, he would give you examples. It happened to Kaunda, it happened to me, it happened to... So sometimes you young people, don't be over ambitious. You know, life is not a competition. Yeah, life is not a competition. If you were meant to be the MP, you would be the MP. That's how God designed it. Probably this journey is to teach you a lesson. When the results came and PF lost, he called me and said, so you would have been an opposition MP. How effective would you have been? All the problems now in Matero would have been on you. So maybe also God was taking you out, reserving you for something better. Because you would have failed to deal with the issues in Matero. After first term, they would have kicked you out. Then your career would have just ended there. Is it what you wanted? Yeah? Because Matero is not a small, easy constituency. The problems are very huge. If you fail, they'll kick you on the first term. So just want to have on your CV that means the MP, but I said for one term. He gave me an example. How many MPs can you remember in Matero? Where are they now? What are they doing? Think about the whole country. Who have been MPs? Where are they? And then when you reflect, you said, oh, actually, has a point, huh? Some of them, I can't even remember the name. But some of them, we meet them on the streets. You can't even recognize them, that they were members of parliament. Some of them, they were even full cabinet ministers. So he told me, you are running a law firm. Go back to your law firm. God has blessed you with blends. Continue teaching at the university. The right time will come. So those were wise words we learned from the life of Arabi. And he used to teach you, but also showing you his journey. Yeah. You know, he lost a parliamentary seat before. In Munai. 1991, he lost. He didn't expect it to lose. He said, I lost. But I went back and I reflected, where did I go wrong? Years later, I bounced back in parliament, not as a member of parliament elected, as a nominated MP and vice president. So life can be difficult in terms of the script. If you follow what you want, may not be what God wants you to be. And so I have learned. That's why you will never hear me over, you know, promising people I'm going to do this, or over ambitions about I want to be this, I want to. If it is something God is destined me to be, it will happen.
Before we close, let's look at, Director, do we have any other messages? We have a call. Your name and where you're calling from? We seem to be having some technical issues.
Hello?
Okay.
Hello?
So, as we wait for the call,
Yes, I can hear.
From the legal perspective, the issue of immunity, lifting immunity off of the former presidents. Where do we draw the line between abuse of that or being or holding accountable to people who did wrong? So where do we draw the line? Should it be scrapped off or should it be kept? And if it's kept, where do we draw the line between the two? Abusing it and holding people accountable for their wrongs.
I think for a start, there's a judgment in the Chiluba case.
Yeah, I can go
Immunity is in perpetuity, by the way. Yeah, legally, the immunity of a president is in perpetuity. All acts done by the president in his official capacity, it is immunity for life. So we need to get this clear. Second point, the immunity which we say you have been lifted for, it is acts done which are inimical to national interest.
That's what you thought. We have our first caller. Yes, your name and where you're calling from?
All right, I'm calling from Little Tata.
Yes?
Yes, my name is Pastor Kobe Moyo.
Yes, sir.
And I'm very, very grateful to hear the light of Arabic. But I would just like to contribute on one thing. knowing you, Professor Bazoka,
Yes.
and Mr. JERE, as lecturers, I think the death of Arabic should remind us to check our school curriculum. Because the history we know of Shaka Zulu, the other people, the professor and whatnot, is not really helping us. We need to know our real history. As a preacher myself, I think now I'm grown, I realize that we were taught things that are not necessary and they are not helping us today. And when I hear the history of Arabic, it has really shaken my whole life because I realized that we didn't know him. We only knew him in death. And it is really a shame. But thank God, and I'm so encouraged and inspired listening to you, Mr. JERE, how faithful you spoke with the man, and you're still talking about him the way you are. I pray Zambia will change. If we can have 20 like you, it will really change. Because we have to learn loyalty, consistency, and persistence. And those are very important. Thank you very much, gentlemen. This is a wonderful program. God bless you.
Thank you, Pastor Moyo.
Thank you very much.
So you can call us on the numbers that are there below. We had the technical issue that has been resolved, so we can take 2-3 more phone calls before we retire.
Well, you are also a lecturer, huh? So it seems there's a
Yeah,
panel
but
of lecturers
what the
here.
pastor said, I think it's a general agreement that we need to
Revise
our curriculum. I mean, we should be learning now, our new curriculum, we should be learning about Arabic, Kaunda, we should be learning about Mainza Chona, Elijah Mudenda. You know, these are who shaped Zambia, what it is. So after 50 years of independence, I think we should be learning more about our history.
Definitely.
We have another phone call. Yes, your name and where you're calling from? Hello, good evening. Your name and where you're calling from?
My name is BANDA.
Yes.
I'm calling from within Masaka. Yeah, it's loyal to a human being. Mr. JERE would have been the man. Congratulations, Mr. JERE. You are such a loyal person. You worked with Mr. BANDA for a long time, and being a loyal person like you, if we can have so many people like you, like the previous scholars, would have gone very far. This nation, especially the youth, if the youth can embrace loyalty, like you did, like the way Manu Mwamba did to Sekiwa, we are going somewhere. We are going to go somewhere. But due to the fact that loyalty, not in youth, a lot of youth, they don't have that capacity to have loyalty. This is the thing that is also killing us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Loyalty.
Loyalty.
Yeah, I mean, it's a difficult thing in our political setup. People jump. At the moment, jump. But see, nobody respects you if you are jumping every day. Stick to one thing.
Exactly.
When you are in happy times, it's like a marriage.
Yes.
You know, happy times and bad times, you need to be together. And same with politics. And you know, if you have no loyalty to your former boss, the new boss won't trust you. Back my way. You say if you can do it to somebody who was more closer to you, what about me? So you think if by jumping from one political party to another or another leader and you want to, because you will say, you jump. So if there's another guy who's going to jump, just stick to one. You know, and when you stick to one, people will say, okay, we can trust him. Because, you know, trust is end. You know, I know one gentleman who was a minister.
I think we can take another last.
Hello?
Yes? Good evening, sir. Your name and where you're calling from?
Good evening, good evening, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. We can hear you. Go ahead.
How are you?
We are very fine.
Okay, we really appreciate. My name is Kariba. My name is Kariba. I'm calling from Dona.
Yes.
Yes, please.
really appreciate this program coming on Camnet. And if we have such people in the country that are able to speak good of our former president, this country cannot be the same. And it's very important, more especially in the curriculum of the school. It's very cardinal to help our country to be shaped in the right destiny. So I congratulate and I say for this program. It's a rich program.
Thank you.
I know others cannot do things in what you're doing. But let me tell you, this is the seed that you are planting. And it's very important, just as you have said, that people should understand the wisdom of our fathers. Let's not just look at the things at present. But if we think of the history and apply it to the present, let me tell you, the future of this country cannot be the same. Sure.
Thank you very much, sir.
I really appreciate it. Let me congratulations to Mr. Dickson there.
Thank you.
So loyalty and also
The curriculum.
curriculum and appreciating our former leaders.
Yes, I mean, I think we should. Every leader has a positive, which is need to be highlighted than the weaknesses. And these are the things we learned from Arabi. I was speaking to the president the other day, just I think 2 months before Arabi died. I was reminding President Hakainde that do you recall that almost all freedom fighters in Zambia, those who fought, they have been awarded or rewarded with the medals. Okay, let's get the call.
Yes, your name and where you're calling from?
I'm calling from Shivunji.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Yes, I just want to appreciate Mr. JERE for the good advice he's giving to us as Zambians, especially we the youth. Having people like him, I feel we can have a better Zambia. I've liked his patience and what he's telling us as youth. And I've learned one thing. I can liken this discussion to a parent in a home where he has said, when you see elderly people quarreling, you don't come in and say anything, because you may not know why they are quarreling. And that doesn't mean that marriage will end. So I've learned a lot from your discussion, sir. You are such a very good and intelligent lecturer. You are the people we want in Zambia.
Thank you.
Please, I wish you well. The future is bright for you. I'm a teacher, by the way. Thank you.
Thank you. Director, do we have any messages so that we don't leave them as we wind up? I promise to hold him for only for now. Enjoying the program. Thank you so much for the wisdom, Pastor Oscar Kayombo. When is the curriculum going to change? Children still learning about Homo habilis. What for? Mr. JERE, those are powerful words, big man. I'm Eri within Lusaka. Good evening. Kindly finish the point on the removal of immunity. That one was very important. So
the point on the immunity, briefly, what I was saying that the presidential immunity is actually in perpetuity for acts done in your official capacity. Yeah, that you can't be taken to court for. The immunity is removed to deal with that aspect if you have abused your power in personal capacity in other ways. So this was part of a long judgment in the Chiruba case in the Supreme Court. as to where do you draw a line between official capacity to private. And the Supreme Court in a nutshell said, when your action becomes illegal, then it is no longer official. Because you are not made to be president to do things which are illegal. So, by way of example, if the president has authorized Zambia to go to war and there are casualties, you can never ever sue the president for that action, even if his immunity is removed. Because that action was in his official capacity. He has the right to do what he did. But if the president decided to use his official position as president and orders that ZNS go and start cultivating maize for me at all my farms using state resources, I cannot come and say that was in my official capacity. That was in your private capacity. Therefore, you can be prosecuted for that. So these are the two distinctions. So presidents make decisions every day which may disadvantage you. You may be fired in the national interest, but the fact may be wrong. The president can never be sued in his personal capacity, even when immunity is removed. Another good example is a president decides to drive himself and bashes a pedestrian. That pedestrian has died. That is not in his official capacity. You are not employed or elected as president to start driving around. That's why you have a driver. So when you bash somebody with your car, that you can be prosecuted when immunity is being lifted, because that was in your private capacity. You get the distinction.
Yes.
So official acts, every day the president is signing action, is declaring this, declaring state of emergency. For instance, Chiluba declared a state of emergency, Arabi and the rest were arrested. They could not have sued Chiluba in his individual capacity, because declaring a state of emergency, it is in his official capacity. Those are the powers given to him. So people died during this detention, huh?
Yes.
The Ngunis and whatever. Their families cannot sue President Chiluba or the government to say the action of the state of emergency was illegal, because the president had that powers. But bashing somebody, it is a personal act. So immunity is lifted so that we can deal with that aspect which is illegal. So we lift immunity so that you can go and face corruption charges, so that you can go and deal with that illegality. After the 2016 amendment of the Constitution, it has even been made clear. So before immunity is lifted, charges must be laid. So there's no law which is stopped or which stops law enforcement agencies from investigating a former president. So you first investigate. After you have investigated, you come up with the charges. When you go to Parliament, you should be saying, we want to lift immunity because of one, he bashed a pedestrian. He stole 20 million which was meant for the orphans. Those charges will be now tabled before Parliament. Before Parliament, now that's a new addition, can even decide a select committee will be put up of Parliament. A former president, which never used to happen, who would then be invited with his lawyers to appear before a select committee to look at those charges. If the select committee thinks those charges are genuine, they will then table the report before the full House. When the full House has debated and voted for immunity to be lifted, it will only be lifted for those particular two charges. You are then prosecuted. When you are acquitted, then the immunity gets back in respect on those two charges. That's a new addition to clarify these two. that you can't lift immunity in perpetuity and blankly. Because if you notice, Chiluba's immunity was lifted. Some of the charges which was later slapped on him were not part and parcel of the presidential address to Parliament. The new constitution, or the amended 2016 constitution, has gone further. That to remove the immunity, it is the head of state who needs to go to Parliament.
Parliament to go and ask.
You see, Arabi's immunity was lifted by a minister who went and tabled the motion. Now they're saying it is so serious an issue that the head of state must go and address Parliament. So these are the two distinctions. Yeah, that president make mistakes which may cause death, which may cause disaster, but in their official capacity. So that is immunity in perpetuity. But when they do illegal things, then they can be prosecuted. I hope
Thank you for the clarification.
As we wind up, I promised not to keep you. As we wind up, any additions, Mr. Japao?
Just the takeaways: loyalty, hard work, consistency, and be honest in whatever you do. Things will always come to you.
And don't be overambitious.
And don't be overambitious.
Well, you know, you must learn. Sometimes, and I must make this point, that I see this with young lawyers, young entrants in the jobs. You want to drive a BMW, just 2-3 months in the job. You want to live in a house with a swimming pool. Your boss to drive a BMW, to live in the house with a swimming pool, they run the race. So there's no shortcut in life. Run the race. Yeah, the moment you start admiring things which your boss has, you want to drive his Range Rover, you have to drive his BMW, that's the beginning of your downfall. Because you have to steal now to match up with that lifestyle. In this long life, you don't know what your boss has done. They've done a lot of saving. So don't compete with your colleagues. If your colleague has bought a BMW in the office, you just look at beauty profile. But more importantly, I get calls from young people, I want a new job. Why are you looking for a new job? I'm not being paid enough. I'll say, no. You've just left university. Stay there, build your CV. Because some of us who sit on interviews, when you look at a CV with a candidate who's been jumping jobs every after 3 months, 2 months, it's
a red flag.
It's a red flag. There's no stability. So build your stability, build your CV as a young person. So sometimes you may have to build your CV by sacrificing to work for 2-3 years just to learn, get experience, improve your CV so that when you are moving on the next stage, people trust you. Yeah. So this I tell young people, don't rush. It's common among young lawyers to drive nice cars and whatever. It's exciting. But
against all professions, actually.
Well, we are the culprits. But you see, life is not meant to be a competition. You know, run your race. Opportunities come different. Sometimes the same group you started with, the good example is in the army, in the defense forces, you all get passed out at the same time. But you may find 2 days later, one of you is made a captain from lieutenant. The other one is going to be general. You are not going to move at the same level. Yeah? The person you thought was the weakest, you find is the one who's become a general first. But you must run your race. Because if you start competing that my friend became a general before me or became a colonel before me, you won't enjoy the work. Just enjoy. Your time will come. God has his own time for everybody. Wait for yours. That's my advice.
Thank you so much for that advice.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are watching Economic Briefcase on Camnet TV. Our guest today was Counsel Dickson JERE. My co-host Noah Njapao. Next week we are preparing for yet another interesting topic. Takeaways from today's program: don't be overambitious. Loyalty is key, and God's time is the best. Continue watching Camnet TV, because Camnet TV is not just another channel. Thank you very much. See you next week. Bye-bye.